Okay, today's lesson is 1.2, solving multi-step equations. To solve multi-step equations, you're going to use inverse operations to isolate the variable. Usually this is done in reversing the order of operations. So when you solve problems, you always would do multiplication division before addition, and in this case you would be doing, to solve it, addition subtraction first, multiplication division second. So let's look at the problem. The height in feet of a tree after x years is given by this expression, 1.5x plus 15. After how many years is this tree 24 feet tall? So the equation would be 1.5x plus 15 is equal to 24. First, undo addition with subtraction and subtract 15 on both sides. Next, undo multiplication and divide both sides by 1.5 to get the answer of 6. It would be after 6 years. In this example, you want to combine like terms first. So we can see the like terms of 8x and negative 6x, and they can be combined into 2x. Then we will undo subtraction by adding 25 to both sides. Finally, undo the multiplication with division by 2 on both sides. And you can always check your work. So let's give some of these a try. In the first one, I can see that z is being multiplied by negative 3 and added by 1. I would subtract 1 from both sides. And then finally, divide by negative 3. So that I could get that z is equal to negative 2. And then if I substitute that in, I can solve it and see that it is true. For the second one, I have a multiplication and a subtraction, so I want to undo the subtraction first by adding 9. So negative 25 plus 9 will be a negative 16. And then we saw yesterday that we will use the reciprocal and multiply both sides by 2 over 1. Okay, so those 2's cancel and the 1's cancel. And when you have negative 16 times 2, you get negative 32. So I can check my work. So half of negative 32 is negative 16, and negative 16 minus 9 is negative 25. Finally, I will combine some like terms here first. Negative 4 and negative 8 combine to negative 12n. Bring down the rest of the problem. So I will be subtracting 17 on both sides. 23 minus 17 is 6. When I divide by the negative 12, I get n is equal to a negative 1/2. I'll check my work above it because it'll be easier for you to see. So negative 4 times the negative 1/2, negative 8 times the negative 1/2, negative 4 times negative half is a positive 2, negative 8 times half is a positive 4. And when I add all these numbers on the left, I get 23. So I know that my answer is right. sometimes we're going to need to use the distributive property before solving an equation. So in this example in your book, example 3, they're going to distribute the 2 inside the parentheses, so 2 times 1 and 2 times the negative 5x. So when we do that, we get 2 minus 10x plus 4, and we can combine the like terms of 2 and 4 into 6. So negative 10x plus 6 is equal to negative 8. I will subtract 6 on both sides. Negative 10x would be equal to negative 14. The second step, divide by 10 on both sides to get x is equal to 1.4. So let's give these a try. In the first one, I want to distribute the negative 3. So I'll get negative 3x minus 6 plus 5x equals the negative 9. I will be combining the like terms of negative 3x and 5x, which is a positive 2x, minus 6 equal to negative 9. So I will add 6 to both sides. 2x would be equal to negative 3. When I divide by 2, I would get x is equal to a negative 1.5. And don't forget to check your work to make sure that it is true. For the next one, I want to distribute first, okay, because we have to do multiplication before adding or subtracting. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify, and we always want to simplify the parentheses. So bring down the 5. 1.5 times 2d is 3d. 1.5 times the negative 1 is minus 1.5, and that's equal to 0.5. So my like terms are the 5 and the negative 1.5. When I subtract 1.5 from 5, I get 3.5 plus the 3d is equal to the half. So what I have to get rid of is this 3.5. So I'm going to subtract 3.5 from both sides, and I'll get 3d is equal to, when I take 1/2 minus the 3.5, I'll get a negative 3, so that I could divide both sides by a positive 3 and get d is equal to a negative 1. And I could substitute that back in and solve to check it and make sure that I got the right answer. So for this example, we're going to need to write and solve an equation to help us find what we need on that test to keep our average for test scores at a 90. So if you recall, when you compute an average, you're going to add up all the numbers and then divide by the number of numbers. So the first 3 tests, I got an 88, a 92, and an 87. Here's this 4th test, and we don't know what it is, so we'll call it an X. So let's add up all the numbers, and we have to add in this 4th test. If we divide by 4, we want our average to be equal to 90. So here, before we can simplify the top to get x by itself, we need to get rid of this 4. So we're going to undo this division first, just to make things a little simpler for us. So these 4's cancel. 90 times 4 is 360. Now we can combine these like terms into 267. .360 minus 267 is 93, and that would be that 4th test score. Similar to last night, this time there's going to be more variables. We're going to find the missing value and then find all the measures of the angles. So we know that since this is a triangle, the total sum of the angles is 180. Same for over here. So I can write and solve an equation. One angle plus another angle plus the third angle has to equal 180. Combine these to be 2n because they're like terms, equals 180. So if I subtract 42 from both sides, and divide both sides by 2, I would get that the missing angle is equal to 69 degrees. So then the three angles would be 69 degrees, 69 degrees, and 42 degrees. For the second one, I have x plus 10 and x plus 5 are my three angles. So I can combine the like terms here. So I would get 3x plus 15 is equal to 180, and I would subtract the 15 from both sides, and finally divide by 3. So if x, I'm going to bring it up to the top here, is equal to 55, I would have 55 degrees right here for this angle, and then 55 plus 10 would be 65 degrees, and finally 55 plus 5 would be 60 degrees. And I can always check to see if I'm right by adding the three angles together to make sure that they would equal 180.